Hey, welcome back to Lightworker Training. My name is Tatiana, and I'm so grateful to be joining with you today to get into part 2 of why your intuition sucks. So, not that it always sucks, but sometimes we feel like, what's the deal? I thought I had a read on this, and it's not panning out the way I thought it would. Okay. So I want to talk about the reasons why so that you can work that energy and be able to depend on your intuition as though your life depended on it. That's where I'm at with my intuition. I would bet my life on it. It's not even a gamble to me. It's just that is what you get when you put in tens of thousands of hours. I mean, who even knows? I mean, just all day long, right? It's an all day long awareness kind of practice, remembering that we can tune in, ask questions, clear energy, get connected, get grounded, right? That was the first but that was part one. The number one reason why your intuition sucks is because you're not grounded. Seems counterintuitive, right? Because you think, oh, I got to have this big open crown. Well, guess what? If you're not grounded, then all that energy that's coming in is just going to hit the bottom of the bottleneck and then just ricochet back up through the system and create a lot of chaos. And you might think that you're getting clear information, but if you're not grounded, if you're triggered, if you're in a sympathetic nervous system activation, like we said in the last video, you're not going to be getting good info. You're not going to be getting reliable information that you feel like is rock solid. You can trust it no matter what. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the number 2 reason why intuition doesn't seem to be working. And that is you're not really willing to know the truth. Yikes. Somebody had to say it, right? I mean, you got to be willing and more willing to look at shit that you might not want to see, you might not want to hear, you might not want to know. All right. But you have to have that courage and that determination, that unbending will to know the truth. And without it, you're not going to get a clear read. So, there's a lot of reasons why we might not be willing to know the truth, right? So let's break some of it down. Um, Number one, and this could be the kind of the catch-all category that you could put everything else in, is fear, right? There's some fear that we're not going to like it, it's not going to be what we had hoped for or planned for. It could be that it's some kind of fear that might be triggering, it might be coming from a place of old trauma being triggered, right? So if there's any little threads that connect what you're wanting to know about to potentially some old trauma trigger energy, that could be bringing up this energy of fear, this energy of mistrust, this energy of contraction and ungroundedness, right? A lot of times when we get triggered or we get afraid, then we go into that sympathetic nervous system activation. So the way that we can get out of the fear energy, or whatever its manifestations are, is to ask some questions and sort through the energy, right? So sometimes the fear shows up as like this kind of bypassy, delusional stuff. So I'm saying fear just because I feel like everything can kind of fit into that category without me making a really long video about this. But it could that fear could have a lot of ways that it seems to appear on the surface. But if you just even peel back the very surface layer, you can feel there's like a contracted energy in there somewhere. Um, it could show up as like a really stubborn attachment to your ideas of what's right or wrong or good or bad about, the situation. Okay, so all of that stuff is going to block, block, block. And it's so, I mean, understanding like the whole trauma thing, where attachments come from, etc. It's so key. And so if you don't know this, like please go back to part 2 where I talk about in this series of videos, part 2 is called Foundations of Healing. And I talk about trauma based trauma energy, unresolved trauma, how to resolve trauma, a really simple and powerful practice for resolving that. So if you don't do this inner work, this really key foundational inner work, you're never going to have dependable intuitive guidance. Wow. I know a lot of people are not going to like the things I'm saying in these videos, but I know it sounds kind of harsh, but I'm just, this is my experience. Maybe somehow you are living or creating an alternative reality where that doesn't apply to you. So that's awesome. All right. So here are some things you can do to figure out what's going on. If you feel like this is maybe part of the reason why your intuition feels like it's sucking, okay? Ask yourself, be really, really brutally honest with yourself. Do I want to know the truth no matter what? Even if it goes against everything I thought I knew before or believed in or wanted to be true, would I still be willing to know the truth of this answer? And I'm not, this isn't just coming out of like, I didn't just pull this out of my ass. Like I've had these experiences and it's a fucking harsh reality. And I just have to call it out. Like let's like be lighthearted about it. Like there are times, right, where we're like, oh, I just, please give me the answer. I'm going to pull a tarot card. And then you pull a card and you don't like the fucking answer. So you're like, I'm going to pull another card and another card and another card. Or you're like, please, God, tell me, what should I do? And God's like, you should just keep doing what you're doing because it's all working out. And you're like, no, that's not right. It's like, okay, see how that works out for you. So we're going to get as many opportunities as it takes to have the experience of not following our guidance. And that's actually helpful because if we don't have that experimentation and opportunity to try this, try that, like, I wonder what'll happen if I just keep going against what my guidance is. You don't know until you try, right? And then you try and you get frustrated and it's really painful. And then that can help you get to the place of actually being willing to know. It sounds so ridiculously simple. If you want to know the truth, you have to be willing to know it, right? Sounds so retardedly simple. However, in practice, it's a little sticky, it's a little tricky, it's a little slippery. So we get to have compassion for ourselves because what we are taught, what we experience in this realm as children and all throughout our lives, but especially when we're really impressionable, we're getting these messages and symbols over and over and over again that brainwash and hypnotize us into a state that is very off. Some might say completely inverted from our natural state of being. So it does take some effort and some practice to be able to deprogram all of that we just soaked up as little kids and be able to come into our spiritual adulthood where, okay, I'm going to put on my big girl pants and really, really, really want to know the truth. I would much prefer to know the truth rather than be deluded about it, right? So, but you got to be real with yourself. And it's better to be honest that you don't want to know the truth than to keep deluding yourself that you do want to know the truth when you don't. It's better, right? Because at least then there's some truth in there. There's some energy of reality in there, right? Yeah, okay. So I think that makes sense. So so that's number one, right? Recognize, like, if you don't want to know, then okay, then it's just not happening. And that's okay. Eventually you'll get to the point where you will want to know. And that'll be the correct time for you to know. Okay, along with this, I just want to say that sometimes we think we want things to happen in a certain timing, but it's not the correct timing for our overall spiritual, psychological, emotional, or even physical process. So, we're in the process of healing everything, like from our childhood, but from our ancestors, from the collective. I mean, it's kind of a shit show, right? We got a lot of work to do, and it takes time. It takes time to process and integrate and heal it all the way back to the root cause. And so sometimes this unwillingness to know is really, it's just not a correct timing. Okay. So there might be a part of self that's not ready to go there. So a lot of it, it's actually a little bit different than not willing. It's like not ready, not ready, not ready to go there. And a lot of times not willing is not ready. Okay. So if that's helpful to think of it as not ready, it would be too much for wherever you're at, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, physically. You physically need to process this stuff, right? Like the trapped emotional energies in your body that haven't been processed, the old trauma, it takes a physical toll. And it takes time to process that. So there might be something correct about not being willing, not being ready. Might be correct. Okay. So that being said, if this unwillingness comes from attachments, all the stories, all the meaning, the internal narrative, the da, 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 da. All of your ideas about what's right, wrong, good, bad, all of these attachments, the fix for that is you can actually just scan to see if you have cords of attachment. You can scan for attachment energies and cut cords. If you don't know how to do that, I have a video, like a little mini class on cord cutting at lightworkertraining.org. So, check that out. It's super cheap. I think it's like 10, $20 maybe at the most. Anyway, yeah, you could cut the cord. You don't have to take a class on cord cutting. It can help, but You can just say, hey, I release all attachments now, all of the meaning I've made out of this, everything, all the, oh gosh, I hope it's not that answer. Oh, I hope it's that answer. All of that, I'm letting it go. You can just imagine you're cutting the cords, right? Letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. And then ask the answer again. That might clear some energy, might bring you more into a place of willingness to know. So that's attachments. A lot of those thoughts and beliefs are very fear-based. They're very limited and in coming from a place of contraction, coming from kind of a survival energy, coming from a place of, you're trying to micromanage the universe rather than trusting that there might be infinite possibilities for you greater than what you've ever possibly imagined. Wouldn't that be great to be coming to a place of asking questions about our intuitive guidance and be open to infinite possibilities beyond what we could even possibly imagine? Here's a little mini clearing for that. So, anywhere where you have a block around receiving infinite possibilities beyond what you even could possibly imagine, would you be willing to release it? Whew. If so, all of that, ooh, yeah, is leaving your space now. All right. Mm-mm-mm. So, whoa, if I go into session mode, I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to be clear about what I'm talking about here. All right. So, what was I going to say? Oh, the fear. Okay. This is huge. So, you need to ask this question for any of these ideas, beliefs, whatever. I mean, you could just go, screw it, man. I don't need to have beliefs because I'd rather know the truth than believe something. That's where I'm at. So feel free to join me there. But you might say, no, I don't want to get rid of all my beliefs. Well, then you might have to sort through some of this stuff and figure out, is this even my belief? So it's fine if you want to hold on to your own beliefs about things. But what if it's not even yours? Where'd this belief come from? So asking the question, who does this fear belong to? Who does this belief belong to? Who does this limitation? Who does this um, intuitive block belong to? Who's feeling blocked? Who doesn't want me to know? Who is not willing to know? So asking these questions and tuning into the energy, you might feel like, whoa, that wasn't mine. I asked that question and it was clear it was not mine. So you might get a hit on it. You might not get a hit. You might just ask a question and you're like, I still don't fucking know who this belongs to. All right. You don't have to know. You can just say, yeah, whoever this fear belongs to, I'm sending it back. You know, who does this fear belong to? Return to sender. Who does this fear-based belief belong to? Return to sender. So if there's any part of that that's not yours, it will go back to wherever it came from. And you can say it that way. Any part of this that's not mine, I'm sending it back. Any of this block that's not mine, I'm sending it back, sending it back, sending it back. So that's going to get you to a place where you're just left with your own stuff, which is preferable, right? Like, let's not try to clear energy for anybody else because you can't do it anyway. So that's why it feels so heavy, So if it feels really heavy, probably not yours. Probably taking on something like wearing some clothes that don't fit. It's not yours. So fear-based energy, not willing to know. Who does that belong to? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's an inner child or a past self that is afraid. Well, then you need to help that being, right? That part of self. Bring it in, bud. Like, come here. What are you afraid of? Connect with this part of yourself. Let them know, I love you. I'm going to keep you safe, right? So this is why we tend to have these like kind of shutdown places, is because we didn't get enough love and protection. So long story short, with all the inner child work, what they need is just good enough love and protection. They need to feel cared for and safe enough. And then once they got that, they're good. So I talk about that process and how to do it. It's in a video called Go Within or Go Without. Go within or go without. Okay, really, really key. If you just stop and do this inner world process, if you slow your ass down, figure out what the fuck is really going on, do the inner work, it's going to save you time, energy, all kinds of resources, and money even. How much money have we wasted just buying stuff that's not even our thing to buy? Or anyway, so yes, slow down to speed up. Slow down to speed up. If you slow down, do the inner work, it's going to accelerate all of this stuff. I'm going to keep harping on this because it's so key. And I know people don't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. That's how I know. Everyone I talk to doesn't want to do it. All right. So you're not alone. And you're never alone in any of this. All right. So let's see. Who does that belong to? Return to sender. If it is a part of self that's afraid, go within or go without, right? If it's not yours, just send it back. No biggie, right? So not yours, send it back. It is yours, take care of it. Do the inner work. What's the other option? Okay, it could be some kind of parasitic entity. So this is a little bit stickier. You can sometimes clear it just by saying return to sender. And sometimes you got to add a little bit of extra oomph to that. So I'm going to give you the like a little extra oomph. There's a lot more than a little extra oomph, but that's too advanced for these videos. Hit me up if you need some advanced exorcism skills. But this very simple thing is very effective. So if you do a clearing and you say something like return to sender, you make a command to clear the energy, right? Then if something doesn't clear, it could be that there's some kind of entity attachment on it. So then what you want to do, it could be other things too. But what you can do for those stickier ones is you can say anything that doesn't allow for that, I also return to wherever it came from. This is a really good generic intention command. So the first command, like I am clearing, or whoever this belongs to, return to sender, right? You have a simple command. And then you can always add on anything that doesn't allow for that, I also return to sender. Anything that doesn't allow for that. That's a big generic catch-all that can scoop up all kinds of things like entities, cords, implants, old contracts and stuff. So it's like a big null and void stamp. And then destroy and uncreate that as well. So if you get a hit on like, oh wow, like that felt like some past life shit. I think I had an old vow or something, yeah, man, like you can get really specific, like, okay, any of those old past life vows, I'm going to destroy and uncreate those. Yeah, you can do that, but you don't have to. You could just say anything that doesn't allow for that. As you get more advanced, you will be required to be more specific, more nuanced, and deal with like more subtle differences in the energies. But this is a really good place to start, and these are really powerful tools that can shift a lot. So if you feel like your intuition is sucking, and you've already done part one, which is check your grounding channel, you can go to part two, which is, am I willing to know the truth? And you could even do a little clearing for yourself, right? Get grounded, get centered, get centered in your true self, and then declare, I am willing to know the truth. Any part of me that's not willing, I'm just wrapping you up in love and acceptance. And if it's not time, that's okay. But anything else that doesn't allow me to know this truth, I destroy and uncreate it. I return it to wherever it came from. And anything that doesn't allow for that, anything that doesn't allow for that, and anything that doesn't allow for that, I'll send all that back too, because I am willing to know the truth. So be it. Just do a little clearing for yourself, make some commands, just make it up as you go. Like feel into it and just see. But this willing piece is big, and who knows where it's going to lead you. There's a lot of different places these kinds of simple clearings can go. But check it out. I hope that's helpful. And I have one more, I think, I want to do on this topic. But until then, enjoy your practice, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time on Lightworker Training. Bye for now.